Recording.
All right, guys.
Okay. Hi, everybody. If you don't know me, I'm Karen Robinson, and I am the Events and Programs Administrator. And right underneath me is Carrie Winter, who is the Director of Events and Program Delivery. And then you know Jen. So we're all here today to talk about the next stages of, oh, what was that? Was that me? No. We're going to go over a few things today. We talked last time about the Institute course calendar. That's a calendar that NIGP did for the year, probably around 200 meetings. And we started this when COVID hit and the chapters were unable to schedule meetings. We're going to go over the Learning Give Back program, and we're going to talk about in-person classes. So the NIGP Institute course calendar provides learners with an intentional schedule of virtual courses within an annual calendar. So our fiscal year calendar runs July 1st to June 30th. So it's not the standard calendar, but it does give people an opportunity to plan out their year, because we offer all of the classes at some point on this calendar. So they can budget and plan their year, and they can also save 20% off of the standard registration fees when registering 60 days out. So what happens is we build our calendar for the entire year. We put it up. I think it takes us a couple of weeks to get all the courses online once it is determined which courses we will be offering. And that affords everyone the opportunity to save 20% when they're registering. It also supports the concierge program, which develops a long-term career professional development plan for the learner, and overall professional development and succession plan strategy for the entity. So anybody can reach out to our concierge program if they have questions about how they should proceed with their learning. We have mentors on hand to help with that process for them to make it easier. So how does all this affect the chapters? Well, with our program, you can still schedule virtual and in-person classes for your membership, right? You can continue to host courses in person or virtually. The virtual classes, hold on a second. Okay, so the chapter will consult with our Institute calendar to plan your development for the year. That means that all of the ones, like I said, we put them on, takes us a couple of weeks, are all on the calendar. And the easiest way to search the Institute calendar is by month under Learning, Courses, and Courses by month. So you can go in and see what we're offering each month. If you want to offer a class that's not on there, then we urge you to go ahead and fill out the course request form so that you can offer that for your membership. If there is a class that's already on there and it's near the date that you want to have your class, we're happy to turn over our Institute class to yours. We're happy to give you that space and time for your chapter. We have those, as placeholders a lot of the time. And if you go in and see something that's not sponsored by a chapter, you can just send me an email and I can let you know whether that class is up for grabs or not. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can always just have your have your members enroll in that class as a sponsor, and you'll get your 10%. So going forward, you're still going to get your 10% rebate from the gross revenue for both virtual and in-person courses. And anytime you direct your members to enroll in an NIGP Institute course, one that's hosted by NIGP, you will get 5% rebate for those members, as long as they identify with your chapter. Chapters that choose not to host courses can still earn money by promoting the course calendar to their members. So if you don't have the time to determine which classes that your chapter might want, you can just steer everybody to the Institute classes, and you're still going to earn 5% as long as they identify with your chapter. So the learning, so what I was just talking about is the learning give back program. So it's designed to give you the opportunity to earn 5% on registrations that on the courses that we host, right? So when somebody from your chapter registers, they need to identify themselves as a member of the chapter. There's a drop-down box that includes all the chapters for the online registrations. And there's a write-in space for the fill-in email or fax registration forms. Now, to be successful for this, the chapter should educate the members on this program and encourage them to identify themselves as a member of the chapter when registering. And we switched it up to 8 in this process. We used to have none at the top. We've now moved that to the bottom. So as they're scrolling, they're going to scroll and see their chapter and choose that before they decide to choose the default, which was none from the beginning. So this should help the chapters earn a lot more money going forward. But please, we urge you to put it on the website and urge them to sign up for these and make sure they put their affiliation down, because we really want to share this with you.
Karen, can I add one thing about that?
Yes.
In the online marketing toolkit, in the chapter section for resources, there are items like this image you see on the right that you can post on your website, in newsletters, send out to your membership. So there is marketing, if you will, already made by NIGP for you to help promote that. So that's in place for you guys to use.
Okay. So payment notifications. How do we know if you've earned funds via the Give Back program? So we've just completed the Q1 assessment on the program. Chapters who earned funds were notified by email by Carrie of the total amount earned. Notifications will be sent to the chapter treasurer after the end of each quarter. So every quarter they're going to go through, and anybody who identified as being affiliated with a chapter who registered for an NIGP Institute course, that information was captured and an email was sent from Carrie letting the chapters know how much they earned. So for the Q1 results, NIGP paid out nearly $3,000 across 41 chapters. The lowest amount was around $10, with the most being over $200. So 14 was the highest number of registrants affiliating themselves with a particular chapter. And this is where we can make improvements on this. 328 total students registered for the course, but only 177 identified their chapter when registering. So as you can see, it is beneficial for them to affiliate their chapter when they're registering, because it's money, it's found money. That's how I look at it. It's found money for the chapter. And you can see here that half of the people didn't identify. And so that's lost revenue for the chapter. So get the word out there. You'll still get 10% for the ones you host, but you'll get 5% for just advertising to them to sign up for our classes and affiliate themselves. So it's a win-win.
Karen, if I can also, okay, sorry, you're talking about it on your next slide. I got ahead of myself.
Okay. So how does a chapter get paid? So payments will be made after you receive notification from Carrie, and they'll be made by direct deposit. So if you don't already have ACH set up with us, you should receive an email from our bookkeeper. You should have actually received an email from our bookkeeper to provide the chapter's banking information. So for Q1 payments, if you receive the email request and haven't responded, please respond as soon as possible so we can issue the payment. If you were notified that you received funds and did not receive the email, please let me know. So you can email me at krobinson@nigp.org. If Carrie sent you an email saying that you should receive funds, but you did not get an email from the bookkeeper, asking for your banking information to do the ACH deposit, please let me know so we can get that resolved. So marketing the programs. So what we're seeing is there are certain chapters that are making a lot of money for hosting classes. without their members signing up at all. And I think what they're doing, and I'll get to this, it's number 4, a bullet point, social media. But there's several ways that you can maximize your attendance and revenue. And so the chapter newsletter, you can take advantage of your monthly newsletter to showcase the upcoming classes. And repetition, it will help, get the word out there and help people see every month that coming up, and then saying, okay, yeah, maybe I do have the time now to take that class. So be sure the links are working and the information is up to date on your website. The chapter meetings, use this opportunity to get the word out. And again, social media, our most successful chapters are using their social media platforms to engage participants throughout the US. We have a chapter who makes a lot of money, and they have people from all over the United States. And so I don't know if it's what they're using, if it's Facebook or Twitter or Insta, I'm not sure, but they're getting the word out there, and they're getting a lot of people responding. You can also partner with chapters that are near you. So you can reach out and team up with chapters that are near you. We can split the chapter rebate between the 2 chapters, and then you can, have strength in numbers, and hopefully that will be something that will allow you to be successful in your education outlet. So we've seen some chapters do that, and it's been very successful. So if you have a relationship with your local chapters, I think that's a good idea to team up, and you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So Drew Evans, yes, if you already have ACH set up, you won't be receiving an email. That's just for the people who don't typically host courses with us, that are going to be receiving the revenue and the benefits from the program. So if you already have ACH, you will not be receiving an email from us. So the last thing on our agenda is in-person meetings, and we're noticing that the chapters are scheduling a lot of virtual meetings, but not in-person meetings. And so we're just wondering, why you're not scheduling the in-person, since COVID, a lot of people have just done the virtual. So if you have anything to add to that conversation, we'd like to hear that.
Looks like Rebecca has her hand up.
I can't see anything, but
Okay, go ahead, Rebecca.
Hi there, thank you. Are you referencing the chapter meetings, or are you referencing the courses?
the courses.
Okay. I did ask this question. We had like I think an area call or something like that not too long ago, and I asked the question to just throw it out there to anyone who is in ProD, about if they've seen, in-person classes like, a thing, for them. And basically the people that are on there said no. And then I was like, okay, well, my chapter members, wanted in-person classes to come back, and I've attempted that, as you know, Karen, and quite a few of them have been converted to online. And then my follow-up question was, how many courses do you guys schedule through NIGP yearly? And I think I got the response of like 3 to 4 classes, where my chapter, I guess, pre-COVID I was in the ProD back then, but pre-COVID they'd try to schedule like 12 classes a year, close to, if not. So I was a little taken aback, and I was like, well, okay, that probably answers another question. Maybe it depends on how many are being scheduled and like what the members want. I went on maternity leave, but when I got back, I'm like, oh, let me maybe schedule a class or 2 for the end of the year. And I was just really discouraged. I was like, they don't want to take the classes, so I'll just start fresh next year, because I feel like I'm wasting my time. I know it sounds bad, but I'm just being honest.
No, thank you. So you're saying that you scheduled classes, but the chapters, yeah, I know you did try to schedule them in person, and they did get transitioned to virtual. And so I'm just wondering if you're hearing anything as to why they don't want to come in person. Because honestly, when COVID hit and everything got transitioned to virtual, we had a hard time selling it because a lot of people said they couldn't learn through the virtual platform. They needed to be in person. So is it that this is just the way the world has gone, and now they've adapted to it, and so they don't want to do in person? So do you have any thought about why they're not coming to the
I
campus?
haven't gotten that feedback from them specifically. I just figured let me stick to kind of what works, but I do see some people in the chat talking about some different reasons as to why.
Yeah, so Lisa has her hand up, Karen.
Hi, Lisa.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah,
Hey.
I saw that too in the chat. A lot of people are saying the same thing. Virtual is less expensive, and everyone's budget here, their training budget's almost nothing anymore. So that's what I've been hearing is the biggest reason.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Wait, there's another Lisa also with her hand up. Sorry, two Lisas there back to
Oh,
back.
sorry, I wasn't specific enough.
Hey,
Sorry.
it's Lisa Kessiker.
Hi, Lisa.
It's okay. This is Lisa from Central Florida chapter. We figured that since everybody's finally got used to the virtual, and since a lot of agencies are allowing their people to work hybrid, they're working from home. So I'm not seeing like anybody wanting to do anything in person right now, just because, like if they get a chance to work at home, they can take the class virtually at home and it's no big deal. And then those of us that are stuck in the office, well, we're stuck at the office and we don't get to leave. So that's why we're looking at like the virtual opportunities here in Central Florida. But I think a lot of people, you guys, you're killing us with this. You have to have 12 for whether it's virtual or in person. I mean, I wish you at least drop it to like 8 or, for virtual. So, because it's hard coming up with 12 people all the time to host a class.
Well, what I can tell you about that, Lisa, is everything is debatable. So everything is, what's the word I'm looking for?
Negotiable.
Negotiable. If you don't quite get to the 12, I might wake up that day and go confirmed. Like healed. I might just wake up and confirm it, right? Like okay, so the goal here is to first and foremost provide for the students who have registered for the class. And while the goal is to get 12, if you are just short of that number, there's no way that I'm going to disappoint the students that are registered and the chapter for all the work that you've done and not confirm the class. Because there's I've had times where I've confirmed them with 8 people, and then the next day an agency signed up 5 people. That can happen at any given time. I don't like to give up on the classes. The 12 is, the 12 is the minimum, that I've been given, but I've also been given a little bit of leeway to make decisions based on a number of things. When's the next class going to be offered for this? Has this class, been canceled before, and have these students already had to change classes? There's a lot of things that go into it. And first and foremost, we want to make sure that we're taking care of the students who are registering for the classes. So that 12 minimum is a soft number.
That's for both virtual and in person?
No, in person's a little bit different because we have to pay expenses for the instructor to go to the class. There have been times when I have confirmed one with 12 and 2 people canceled, so we still held it with 10. But the idea is that in person, all the costs that have gone up with the airfares and everything, getting people there, we kind of do have to stick to the minimum of 12 with the in-person. But the virtual is a lot more forgiving. And so I can do a lot more with the virtual classes as far as confirming them.
Trudy, you have your hand up.
So I just wanted to say I'm Trudy from ARM GPA, and we've had great success. We just did a class in October, and it's the first of 3 classes to get the public procurement designation or associate designation. And we had the class full. We did a ton of marketing. We have the second one coming up at the end of January, and we already have 8 people registered for that. So we're doing a lot of marketing. What we tried to do, because we do have a lot of new members, we tried to market it together to say, okay, we want, you can get this associate designation, but ours happened, and I think it's helped some of our agencies because we did it across years. So we did one class in this year, and then the next 2 classes will be next year. So then if there's budget issues, it allows them to split that within years. But like I said, we had great success. Ours was full in October, and hopefully by January, then our next one will be full too.
Yeah, I saw that. You guys did have a lot of success for your last one.
Way to go, Trudy.
Guys, there's been a lot of comments in the chat. I don't think they're not necessarily questions. I think people are just sharing comments about what they're doing, their frustrations, some things. So I wasn't going to read each one of them, Carrie, if that's okay. They're just commenting about that. But somebody did just ask, has attendance numbers dropped nationally? Is that a trend? If I can start, I will say, coming off of chapter leader calls these last 2 weeks, and some of you have been a part of those, chapters who are normally have been in person for regular membership meetings are still in this virtual world. And we're seeing this trend that people talk that they want to be in person, but when push comes to shove and they have an option, they would rather be virtually. It just makes it a lot easier. So I do see that changing for everybody. How things used to be for COVID, pre-COVID, is not necessarily what's happening post-COVID. But Carrie, do you want to talk to the question about national numbers dropping?
Yeah, sure. So we just finished our first quarter assessment. As you all know, we paid out some of those benefits for the Give Back program. First quarter for NIGP was down. Our numbers were down. I'll cautiously say significantly, but the first quarter of our fiscal year is always the toughest quarter because it starts in July. You've got summer vacations, you've got people going back to school in August, you've got forum, so people make, if they have to make a choice on what they're spending their money on. So we've always found that the first quarter of the year has been soft. So I will say, so far we are not seeing. We're not meeting the numbers that we anticipated, but we're not panicking because we know that the first quarter of the year is never the shining star of the quarter of the year. So October looked a lot better. And as Karen said, we went in with the intent of trying to raise the minimums on classes so that we were offering fewer classes with more people. For a number of reasons. If you guys were on the call in May, we talked about, the overall learner's experience. It's a better experience when there's more people and more viewpoints in the classroom, that sort of thing. So we are being flexible and trying to keep those cancellation numbers down so that we can get people through professional development. That's really what our main goal is. In terms of over 5 years, Drew, that's kind of tough because it's not apples to apples. If we look at 5 years, I'm sure I could get the data. But really I think we would be looking at more like the last 2 years, just because, we don't want to look at pre-COVID. During COVID was a whole different thing. Like Karen said, when we went virtual, folks were like, nope, not having it. Don't want to be in a class. I want to be in a classroom. And now we've all just sort of gotten used to this is the new norm and this is how we learn. So we could certainly look at the last couple of years, but we're cautiously optimistic that numbers are going to pick up for this current quarter that we're in now.
Carrie, if I can also throw out something to the chapters, I've heard this historically. I don't know if this is what is trending right now for chapters, but chapters have talked about having a hard time getting rid of scholarship dollars, that they have money there. People are not submitting applications for it. Maybe this is a time to start thinking about the way you administer or give your scholarship money out. Maybe it's not an application. Maybe you're subsidizing part of your education. The first 12 that register get half price off, or incentives like that. I know there has been somewhat of that stigma that I don't want to fill out an application, that I need money, that I want it covered, and maybe offering your scholarship dollars in a different way might be to help meet these minimums, to get these classes to be that full capacity, might be something your board or your scholarship committee may want to look at, is how you distribute that money. And it's not an application, it's a subsidy, it's a first 5 or free, whatever you guys may want to be creative about. Just allow yourself some other opportunities to give that money back to your membership.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jen.
Yeah.
And Amber Yates with the Arkansas chapter, actually, they just did that. So if you want to talk to Karen about how we can make that happen for you, that's certainly something that we can entertain. It's very, I'll say, easy for us to be able to handle that sort of subsidy situation. So if that's something you're interested in doing, please reach out to Karen and we can talk to you about that.
For sure.
I thought I
That's a
saw a
good
hand
point.
up. Did it go
Yeah, that's
away?
a good point, Jen.
Nothing went down. And here, and the reason I'm saying this, and it's something I'm going to piggyback and kind of promote Academy a little bit. And one of the things that we're going to be talking so much about is that I think there has been this desire for chapters to go back and do things, not just meetings, but function in the way they always have. And we have found that we thought when COVID was lifted that everybody was going to go back to how things used to be. And there's this big realization that it is not. And you have to adapt in all aspects of how you're running your chapter, how you have volunteers, how you spend your money, when and where you're doing meetings. So I think it's this overall arching thinking of that you've got to start thinking differently about how you're delivering programs, education, supporting your membership. And part of this just goes along with that, is that things are just not going to be the same. I feel that we're talking, there is a desire and want to be in person, but when it comes down to it, we have been now ingrained in this virtual aspect works. And maybe your employer now doesn't want to let you go out of the office like they used to, because they'd rather have you here, but yet you can still take education while you're here. So that whole concept has changed. So we've got to be really open to thinking and working differently as volunteers and as a chapter structure.
Great. Any other thoughts?
I see a couple of people talking in about scholarships. If you guys have some ideas or anything maybe you've tried differently that you want to put into the chat with your scholarship money, I know other people would love to hear about that. Maya in Washington has some things that they've done different there.
Yeah, I can elaborate a little bit on that. We were noticing exactly what you were saying, that people just weren't going after the specific class scholarships. So we're trying drives for each individual class or a type of learning. Like we recently had Mike ProD pass away here in Washington State, and he was such a he did a lot of our public works training. So we've really created a scholarship in his memory. Well, before he passed away, we did, thank goodness. But anyways, long story, that's more of a construction drive. So we try to get someone to take construction classes and focus it on that. And we've had some really good success with that. I don't know if that's just because it's the inaugural year and everyone's sentimental, or if it is something that is sustainable. But one of the ways that I've been trying to thank our volunteers is if we have extra scholarship money, is to just literally put their names in the hat, ask them if they're interested in attending a class or doing something, put their names in a hat, and it ends up being a thank you or a reward for their volunteer hours over the year. And so that we've had a lot of people interested in, because it's not filling out a scholarship, it's not filling out all that information, but then they are able to advance their education. So
love that, Maya. And I think it's a great way to give back to your membership. You know, in the end, that's what those dollars are used for your chapter, is to give back to your members. And what better way than to, you know, offset these money for classes. So I love that idea. Somebody else talked about an OWL. We've talked about that for years now after COVID, is when you're venturing into this hybrid world, which a lot of chapters are doing, and having things in person and virtually at the same time. That expense for the OWL has been proven to be well worth it for many chapters to enhance that virtual experience so that it's a little bit better. We've talked a lot about, and Carrie, I know you mentioned it in May, about, you know, the importance of that learning experience. And just something simple as that owl moving around to virtual of who's talking in the class and being able to see everybody and not just focused on the center of the room. It's little things like that that do make a difference. And for a small fee, that is something that it can increase that virtual experience for your members.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any ideas about?
Doug just asked a question about that they're updating their scholarship policy to cover travel expenses. So, that's something very interesting to think about when you are a statewide chapter and hosting something. Is it just the registration fee, the cost? Are you also allowing people to spend the night for food? So it would be, anybody want to share in the chat some things that they're doing around that as well? Good question, Doug. Sorry, Doug, it's Carolyn. You're in before Doug. Sorry, I just saw that.
Yeah, well, yeah, his Zoom is, our chapter Zoom is loaded on
Gotcha.
my phone, so it has his name on it.
Okay.
This is Anna Lansall from Maryland Public Purchasing Association. One of the things we did, we just had our Area 2 conference. We paid all our volunteers to stay at the conference, including their travel and so forth. We also paid for all the speakers and so forth. We subsidized a whole lot toward the Area 2 to get the participation up and everything. And in turn, we also offered scholarships to those that wanted to attend who were not volunteering. So we had a very good turnout. Again, but we did put a lot of effort into subsidizing a lot of things that were being brought forth. And so I just wanted to bring that. We do our general membership meetings in person, the majority of them. They do prefer virtual for the training, but our biggest issue is the proximity. We have the Eastern Shore, Western Maryland, and the middle of Maryland. So going from one side to the other side state is could be 2 to 3 hour drive. So they're not willing to make that. So we've been rotating the general membership meetings throughout every region to garner more participation. And then this time we reached out to our Area 2 chapters to collaborate on our training to see if we get more participation in the in-person training to see if they're willing to come out. So we have members out in the Eastern Shore, which are closer to the Delaware chapter or to the Pennsylvania side, and try to get scheduled class or training, in-person training class. So we haven't fully laid out our full training courses yet, but we're anxious to see, because our membership have expressed that they want in-person meetings, because on the state side, they're restricting the teleworking now to almost 2 days a week now for the whole state employees.
Mm.
That's interesting. Thank you, Anna, for that.
And I think it is important, a lot of your chapters are states, cover an entire state, and really thinking about where are you hosting these classes. And when you think about in person, are you cutting off a certain portion of your membership? Is it a smaller group that it makes sense to have it virtual there, but in person somewhere else? I know you guys, that's a normal struggle, is making sure that you're meeting the entire state, that are multiple hours to get from side to side. And are they willing to come? Or I think even to Carolyn's point, is it going to be 3 or 4 hours in which they need to spend a night for a day or two class, something like that. So certainly something to think about when you're considering subsidizing or offering scholarships to cover the cost of those.
Well, and also she said something interesting. She said some of her members are closer to another chapter in another state. So you can also use that. You can also work with that chapter in that state to bring something, if they're closer to the Delaware chapter, maybe work with them so that your members can go in person there. Or if they're closer to a Pennsylvania chapter, work with the closest chapter in Pennsylvania so the members can go there, and you can work together. And that's where you guys can split the cost and split the chapter rebate. I mean, in this day and age, it's because true. It's like, I'm from California. You can drive 12 hours in San Diego and still be in California. So, it is true. And people are spread out, all over the state. And you have one chapter that's covering everything. It's hard to include everybody without them having to drive a long way. So that might be an option for you.
I love that, Karen. And we talk about within our areas to help promote each other's courses. And we just talked about that. If, we have a course, we need a few more people, please share it on your websites. And we still encourage you as chapters to do that. Exactly that same point is that something might be closer right over on the other side and into another state. So very true, Karen. Laura, you have your hand up.
I do. I was just going to say, in line with what you just said, Jennifer, I am sending out classes in area 2 to all the chapter leaders about, especially when they're just shy of the numbers that you guys are trying to meet, to other chapter leaders to post on their website. So I'm doing that with their classes as requested. Also, I know that there's VAGP people on this call, but I'm just going to speak for them. So at VAGP, they have a very strong ProD program in the state. Some of that is very state driven, right? So it's only can be done in Virginia, but they do rotate their classes around the state. So they make sure that they may offer the same class 1 in Southwest Virginia and then maybe one in Tidewater. It may be the same class, but offered at different times. So there isn't as much travel required. So I think another thing that you want to think about when you're scheduling these classes is you may be able to offer the same class, even in IGP classes, multiple times in your state, but in different hosted areas, right? So that there isn't as much required travel for that. That's worked well. And like I said, Wendy, their ProD chair, is on this call. She can kind of speak to that. I can tell you that on their ProD classes, that is one of their largest revenue generators for VAGP, because they do spread those around and they do their calendar a year in advance.
Thanks, Lori. I think that's another key thing. And I know sometimes that's hard to do, but we have found chapters do have a little bit more success in attendance if they can plan out a year. So your members have time to budget, to know when things are. They have a calendar they can take to their boss and say, I'd like to go to these 2 things, and those can be budgeted accordingly. So I certainly encourage chapters, especially as you're getting ready here for your new year and new leaders, to come in to really think hard about how much of this can we plan out in advance, get that out on our website so our members have plenty and ample time to budget and plan accordingly what they want to attend.
And they can take advantage of their 20% off.
Yeah.
So we hear constantly it's about the dollars. And I saw a lot of that in the chat here. Budgets are tight for everyone. So if you're planning a year, 6 months to a year out, and that's what we have done, and we're getting ready to do the next quarter, which will go into fiscal year 25 for our calendar, it gives people that opportunity to save a little bit of money and maybe be able to do more with their money.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Carrie, forgot about that, but that's 60-20, perfect for that pre-planning.
I wanted to address Bob's comment about the scholarship. I saw, asking about whether or not NIGP is going to start covering travel. Our scholarship program is we only have a scholarship program because of the generosity of Sourcewell. And most of you know that's where the scholarship money comes from. Sourcewell is a huge partner with NIGP. They support us in many, many ways. And so we sort of, our philosophy is it's about getting people the education that they need. And because we are all doing a lot of virtual, we are probably not inclined to cover any sort of travel for course scholarships. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Any other questions that anybody has, things that they want to share? This has been a really good discussion. I know we went a little, Carrie, I know we went a little off at NIGP classes, but I think it's good that we kind of just talked in general what's happening in the world of virtual in person, because I know it's something that we talk about internally a lot about, why are or classes not happening in person, and we're turning so many of them over to virtual. So it's interesting to see that. I think even Drew asked about, is it something specific to our area? And I think it's happening everywhere. It's not just specific to the Midwest or the South or anything like that.
I thought I saw a comment in the chat about going over how to host a course. So without getting into a lot of detail on that, for those of you who don't know, or if you're newer to the program, or a newer ProD, there is a section on the website under chapters that specifically is about how to host a course. So it goes through the steps. You can check that out, or you can always email Karen at krobinson@nigp.org. My whole team is on a general events email. So that's events@nigp.org. So any one of us on the events team can get to you. But there is a step-by-step visual and process on the website for those of you who need that refresher.
And also, Drew, I just wanted to let you know that so far, since we've done this back to in-person and transition, we've had 18 in-person classes scheduled, but only 6 of them confirmed. So no, it's not just your area thing. It's all over. I mean, people are trying for sure, but we've transitioned 12 out of 18 classes to virtual delivery. So it's not just you.
I would just say also that that's consistent. Again, speaking of EAGP, I teach for them, and I teach 5 classes a year. And when I started a couple years ago, even post-COVID, I've not done one in person. I was available to do in person, but I've not taught one in-person class for them since people went virtual. So all of them have been virtual, and the attendance has been greater than as a result.
Thanks, Lori. Any other questions anybody has for Carrie or Karen or myself, or anything they want to share?
And just know you can reach out to me anytime. If with any question, you're not bugging me. If it's no matter how small or big the question is, I'm here to answer all your questions and to help you. Sometimes I will ask that we have a conversation, because the back and forth emails can get diluted sometimes, and I might miss the point of the actual question. So there are times when I'd rather get on a call with you than talk through email, but I'm always here, usually here. So I'm typically 7 to 3, 7 East Coast time to 3, but if I need to stay late to have a discussion, I'm happy to do that as well.
And you guys all know me, so you always can go through me if you forget Karen's email, and I will put you into Karen. But you know that that's what we're here to help support you, doing your education at the local level. So anything that we can do to support. We have recorded this. We'll post it on the online resource guide under the webinars, with a link also to how to host a class, and it'll also be in the Leaders in Loop in 2 weeks. So if you want to play this for your board or go back to it, or somebody from your chapter has missed it, we'll have this recorded for you. If that's all, then thanks, guys. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you,
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good
Bye.
day.
Thank you.